Chet Holmgren has already accomplished a couple of things that most top lottery picks spend their entire careers chasing. Just 3 years after he was drafted second overall by the Thunder in the 2022 NBA Draft, Chet has already been the third best player for a championship team, and soon after, OKC already signed him to a 5-year, $240 million rookie max extension. So basically, Holmgren is already a proven and paid winner, yet the crazy thing is he's only 23 years old and is currently playing what is technically only his third NBA season, which means Chet's still likely in the infant stages of his NBA development. In fact, due to injuries he's faced the past couple years, Holmgren's actually played around 20 fewer regular season games than Rockets wing Amen Thompson, who was actually drafted 1 year after him. The thing is, those past injuries which caused some extended absences for Chet has partly opened the door for Jalen Williams to become the Thunder's second All-Star next to Shai. But then this season, it's J-Dub who's been missing a ton of time due to injuries, and that in turn has opened the door for Chet to become more productive than ever. Fresh off a monster defensive effort in the postseason wherein he recorded the second most blocks by any player in the 2025 playoffs, Chet has come back this season looking like a much better offensive player. He's currently averaging a career-high 17.8 points per game while also shooting a career-best 57% from the field. Chet's scoring efficiency has totally skyrocketed to a whole nother level. In fact, among all players to have recorded a usage rate above 20% this season, Chet's 62.8 effective field goal percentage is the fourth best, only behind Nikola, Jokic, Giannis, and Jalen Durant. And Holmgren's been this good all while being the second best player at least this season for the defending champions who have just been basically plagued by injuries the whole year. With Chet Holmgren's vastly improved offensive numbers and with him still maintaining his DPOY level defense, the OKC Thunder just might have produced another All-Star this season. But then, Chet Holmgren's sleep shouldn't actually be that surprising. Looking back a bit, he actually started all 23 playoff games for the Thunder last year while averaging 15.2 points in just less than 30 minutes per game. Though the thing was, Chet only knocked down more than 29% of all his three-point attempts in the postseason. Plus, he was also held under 10 points in 3 of the 7 games in the NBA Finals. There were just a lot of times when Chet displayed a lagging release with his shot, and sometimes he would just look slow and a bit indecisive with a ball in his hands. Although, even when he's missing shots, Holmgren, after all, is still a 7-foot floor spacer who can always stretch the floor for the Thunder. He's always a major threat to set a screen and then pop out to the three-point line, which actions just open up a ton of looks for him, all while leveraging the driving threat of guys like Shai, J-Dub, or AJ Mitchell, who are all dangerous going downhill. Well, even in past seasons, the three-point accuracy has never really been the problem with Chet, but it was more of can he actually avoid loading up too much in order to get his shot off in time before defenses get a clean closeout on him. But the huge difference with Chet this season has been him displaying more confidence and aggressiveness with his shot. In catch-and-shoot situations, it definitely looks like Chet has developed a quicker shot release from deep, which is helping his game significantly, as this now leaves defenders with less time to react on his shot in a clean manner, which at the same time also creates more opportunities for defenders to jump and closeouts, allowing Chet more chances to take the ball inside the arc. The good thing is, at least earlier this season, Chet's been playing at the power forward spot more than ever, which is why rather than being asked to focus more on screen setting duties, Chet's gotten more opportunities to play more like a wing, with him just putting his head down and attacking with a ball in his hands, whether it be in early offense, in isolations, or even coming off pin down actions. In line with that, one positive thing that's happened for Chet this season is that he's finally realized that the short mid-range fadeaway jumper is actually his shot. Chet's just starting to take what the defense gives him, because with him starting to emerge as a real scoring threat, defenses aren't just gonna leave him open from behind the arc nor allow him to have an easy lane to the basket, which is why nowadays Chet's forced into taking a lot of short mid-range attempts, and is definitely making the most out of those shots, as Chet's currently shooting a career-best 54% on jumpers within 10 to 16 feet of the basket, up from 31.7% last year and up from 44.6% during his rookie season. Well, I think what's led to the increased efficiency is Holmgren's increased comfort level in terms of getting into those jumpers. Chet just looks much stronger when initiating those bumps in the mid-post before displaying his improved balance as he pivots and goes up for his shot. It also doesn't matter whether it's a big or a wing who's guarding him. When Chet gets some daylight off that initial pump fake, it's just gonna be hard for anyone to block him or even make a proper challenge, considering Chet's size together with his 7'6" wingspan. In this play, you can see Chet immediately attacking the closeout, placing Trayce Jackson-Davis in a compromised position. This forces the much smaller Podziemski to make the last-second switch, and at this point, all Chet has to do is to create separation with that bump, and has got himself wide open for the easy 10-foot jumper. This time, Chet is guarded by an elite defender in Jaren Jackson Jr., but watch how Chet breaks him down, using that fake dribble handoff before driving into the paint. Jackson Jr. walls him off, but Chet pivots, gets a little bit of daylight, and even with a hand on his face is able to drain the tough mid-range fadeaway jumper. But then, another area of Chet's game that has seen some tremendous improvement this season has been his ability to generate easier looks at the rim himself coming off the dribble. Chet's ball handling has just gotten sharper, and has just gotten better in terms of utilizing pace off the bounce in order to throw defenders off rhythm. Having that kind of handle and movement at 7'1" has always made Chet a matchup nightmare, as he's often too quick to guard for centers, but at the same time, he's also too big to be contained by most wings. But also, what I've mostly noticed this season is Chet's huge improvement in terms of spinning and contorting his body to create clean looks at the rim, which often leaves even elite defenders helpless when trying to stop him. In this play, Chet is being guarded by a solid defender in Trey Murphy, but then you can see Chet initiate that slight post-up, which makes him look like he's going to rise up for a jumper, but instead he uses a quick fake before overwhelming Murphy with his length to just get the ball right into the rim. Again here in isolation against Cooper Flagg, Chet uses a quick pump fake to start his driving attack. He catches Flagg with a quick spin, but when Flagg sticks around, Chet uses another shot fake to get closer to the basket, and at this point, Flagg just can't really do anything to affect the high arcing floater. As a result of that newfound aggressiveness when attacking the basket, after shooting just 63% at the rim last season, Chet is currently shooting 76.4% within 3 feet of the basket, which also happens to be the third best mark among all players who have taken at least 150 shots at the rim this season, only behind Giannis and Rudy Gobert. Though another thing that also actually contributes to Chet's increased finishing efficiency at the rim has been his work off the ball. This season, whenever he's rolling after setting a screen, Chet has been more dynamic than ever, leaving no doubt but just going for the slam almost every time. In fact, a career-best 18% of all his field goal attempts this season have been out of dunks, up from just 15% last year. In addition, Chet is also becoming increasingly dangerous as a cutter. He's got such a high basketball IQ with such great feel on when and where to cut, which makes him such a pain to contain for defenses even when he initially doesn't have the ball in his hands. The Thunder have also been utilizing Chet a lot at the dunker spot, especially in double big lineups with Isaiah Hartenstein, wherein Chet's elite off-ball instincts has been such a perfect complement with Hartenstein's short roll playmaking. Overall, Chet's just become an extremely easy passing target around the rim, especially when defenses pay too much attention to OKC's ball handlers, which often leaves Chet wide open around the dunker spot for easy finishes. But more than the fact that Chet's scoring and efficiency are up this season, what's even more impressive is how he's still bringing elite defense each and every night. Chet's currently averaging 2 blocks per game, which is the third most this season. As the closest defender, he's also limiting opponents to shoot just 41% from the field, which is the second best defensive mark in the league, only behind Victor Wembanyama. Well, the thing is, even back when he first entered the NBA, Holmgren's best ability as a defender was his ability to guard multiple positions. The Thunder knew all along that they could just switch him into quicker perimeter players, so they went the opposite direction with his development, and they instead played him on a lot of drop coverages on the back end of pick and rolls when he was a rookie, which made sense at that time because he still mostly played the 5 when the team still didn't have Hartenstein. Now, obviously, with iHart occupying the center position, Chet has moved down to the 4 spot, but with Hartenstein being hurt for most part of this season, Chet's been going back to anchoring the Thunder's defense at center, which now requires him to again play significant reps as a drop coverage defender. And I just love the growth that Chet's been displaying in that area with more mature and more refined defensive instincts in terms of knowing when and how to contest a shot. It also obviously helps that there just aren't a lot of players in the league like Chet who's got the combination of size, length, and foot speed to effectively guard both the roll man and the ball handler in pick and roll actions. In this side pick and roll play, you can see Steven Adams setting the pick for Jabari Smith Jr. before Adams tries to seal Chet off to prevent him from bothering the ball handler on the drive. Now it looks like Smith Jr. is going to be able to impose his size on Shai, that is, until Chet at the last second just rises up and uses that long arm to erase the shot at the basket. Then here, you can see Okongwu setting the screen for Dyson Daniels, which gives him a head start on the drive against Cason Wallace. Okongwu tries to pin Chet out of position, but right as Daniels appears to have a look at the basket, Chet just pops out mid-air to totally erase the floater. For his NBA career so far, Chet has allowed opponents to produce just a 46.4 effective field goal percentage when he is the nearest defender. That is the third best mark among all players to have contested at least 2,000 shots over the past 2.5 seasons, only behind Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert. Which is why, at this point, because of his size, skill, and reputation as a defender, ball handlers are less likely to shoot at the rim once Chet is nearby, and that is one reason why Chet's block averages are down a bit this season. But even without getting a block on every possession, his defensive instincts and ability to read ball handlers' tendencies is also one reason why Chet still almost always gets a defensive stop most of the time. In this play, you can see Chet on a traditional drop as he's standing right between the roll man and the ball handler. Here as Mark Williams lingers behind Dillon Brooks, Chet knows that the big man is most likely waiting for a drop-off pass. So as Brooks gets near the basket, Chet makes sure he's gonna contest a possible shot but is also gonna prevent any play from developing. So Chet just extends his arms to stonewall Brooks, which leads to a steal for the Thunder. Well, even after OKC's league best record has come back down to earth with them reaching 11 losses this season, the Thunder's defense still remains in a class of its own, with their defense being more than 3 points per 100 possessions better than the second best defensive team, the Detroit Pistons. And Chet Holmgren is a huge reason why OKC's still been this defensively dominant and why they still own the league's best record even with a ton of injuries to multiple rotation pieces. At the end of the day, winning is often rewarded in the NBA. Chet Holmgren pushed hard in his hip rehab last season to get back on the court as quickly as possible, and he ultimately helped the Thunder muscle their way into an NBA title. Less than a month later, the Thunder planted a monster contract offer on his table and Chet accepted it. Now, the changing financials will be the next story of this evolving Thunder team. This season, Shai, J-Dub, and Chet are making a combined $58.5 million. Next season, they'll make a combined $123.8 million, and the season after it will be a combined $150.6 million. As the Thunder's Big Three takes up an increasing percentage of the salary cap, Thunder GM Sam Presti will be forced to be more calculating with the rest of the team's roster and rotation, even with the treasure chest of draft picks that the team has. This makes Chet Holmgren's ultimate ceiling a greater part of the bigger picture for this franchise. So far though, the early signs have all been positive, and if Chet continues this kind of developmental trajectory, which looks like that of a perennial All-NBA talent and DPOY contender, as long as he stays healthy in the long run, the Thunder should have an even longer championship runway than most people expect them to have. But what do you guys think is Chet Holmgren's ultimate ceiling as a player? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this has been Real Balls, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.